Hi guys, and welcome back in the first episode of this new year. The idea is that before the end of the month we are launching this application SiteTracker.io. The MVP is getting there. The past days I sneakily worked a little bit, and that's the progress I want to show you today. So let's dive straight in. This is the application so far. Last time there was no dashboard. There were some empty cards here, and for now I just added some stuff like how many domains you have, how many active checks and active triggers. I'm sure something like this will be there in the end, but at least there's something. That's why I added it there. What I mainly worked on the past days is some basic CRUD, and especially a creation and deletion and some updates of certain database elements. So let's just dive into it one by one. The first thing I really worked on was the click events. You now can create a click event. So for example, click a button, and then we have an attribute, data, click, 1, 2, 3, whatever, triggers an email. We don't have a trigger. So normally when the user starts an account, the trigger will be created, like a first set of data structures. And I'm also thinking here, like, do we need a button that says create trigger in a pop-up and then it's immediately populated? But that's not for the MVP very important for me. But yeah, as you can see, we now need a trigger. So I didn't plan this, but let's just start here. The trigger, if we create a trigger, we also need events. Every trigger has an event, so we have to start with an event. At least we need one event. It's not really handy yet, but let's just see what it is. Oh yeah, so this event is sending an email. And we can do one or multiple email addresses that we want to send to. For example, to yourself in the web guide to notify you. So let's do to me. And then we say something is wrong. Better check the app. And this is not mandatory, so we leave that for now and we create this event. So sending an email. That's the detailed view of the event. This is also something I created because we have a lot of API. We have an open API, and this I have from Stripe. I copied this idea that you can copy the ID because this is always used within any API call. So I thought we'd do that everywhere in the application. We can delete this one. Let's not do that for now, but that's also there, built, and yeah. So now we have one event. We can create a trigger. Create your first trigger. We say this one emails, and if you want to create this, it says you need at least one event. So let's get that event, send an email, sending an email. That's the event. I'm wondering if we need to do this double thing, but I'm sure at one point we can make it more user friendly. But it all works. How many calls so for example, when we are executing this trigger, how many times should it be executed for? Because if you, for example, do a URL monitor, a check, it can go like every minute, and if it doesn't turn out, for example, because content changed, you don't want to be notified every minute, I guess. And in some cases you might want to have unlimited, like always. For example, when you have a 200, when you check if the site is still live, you always want to be triggered when it's not live, notified. But when the content changes, it's enough to know like one time, like, okay, the content changed. So then it's just one time. So yeah, in this case, send an email when something is wrong one time, fine. And then we have this here, and we can add another one, same event if you want. And this one goes unlimited, doesn't really matter. But then we can also sort it. It's not very beautiful, but it works. So that's what's important for me right now. And we can say create. So now we created a trigger, and the trigger is sending an email twice. Fine. We cannot update this trigger yet. This is all not working, but I have an idea how I want to do that. It might be there tomorrow. And as you can see in the trigger, we can also copy the the ID, the unique ID. That's also there, and if we go back we have now a trigger, and if we go to events we have the event. So now we go back to our click events here. We have to reload one more time. A click event, a key, a value. I'm very uninspired. Some description. Now we can say the element type is an attribute because it's on any attribute in HTML in the DOM. And if you do, of course, href, it has to be like an. It could also be this, but it's often more camel case. But we have an attribute, and then we say this one. So when this one is clicked in the DOM, this trigger will be executed. Create. So that all works. It has a detail view. Here already we can say edit. We can change. We save again, and it's changed. So that's also working. So this is the way I thought of it right now. Might do it differently later, but this works. And we could, if we want, delete it. So that's for the click events. Triggers, yeah, we just saw, we created one, and then you have a list. We can also create a list. I had this already, by the way, a list. And then we can say, we can remove fields or add fields and create. But what you can see here is as well the copy paste of this, and we have a delete, and the edit doesn't work yet on the list, but yeah, delete. So that all works. Yeah, this is kind of the progress I have so far. It's a lot of repetitive work. That's just a bit of a boring part. Yeah, the one I'm quite happy with is this one, checks, because there was a more difficult CRUD to build. So to create a check, there are kind of three forms you have to go through. It's the check, of course, itself. So for example, we have a check that checks is page live, for example. And we have our URL and checks that we are still in there. And it does it every minute, would make sense, I guess. If we have a domain that's not reachable, for example, this domain doesn't exist, then it will say URL doesn't exist. That's a check I built. It's just the Ajax call. But when the domain is there, because you cannot check something that's not reachable, so that's kind of a check we needed anyway. Then we say next. Then we go to the check type. So what are we checking? Page is live in this case, but you could also say content, change detection, response time, so how many seconds, HTML value exists. For example, you want to check if an image is still on a page, broken links, and SSL, certificate validity. That's all, can be handy as well. So page is live, you want to check, next, and then we say the trigger. So that's the third step. Maybe I need some steps here above here, 1, 2, 3, to make it even more user friendly. And then we trigger this one, emails, create. So now we have our check ready. And this check is now, you can edit the whole thing. That's also something I built, by the way. It says, do you want to pause when we are ready? Because a check, if it checks every minute, it's quite a thing if you change stuff, because you change it in 3 sections here. And the moment you start changing stuff, if I only want to change the name, it's okay, it can just keep checking. But if I start changing the URL, and then the next thing I want to do is change the rule, for example, or a different trigger, I don't want to check it. So then I can say, do you want to pause? Okay. So now it pauses, and then I can do all my work, and I say save. And then keep the check paused, cancel, and then active again. So that was something I figured out. I don't think it's super user friendly yet, but the logic is there and we can always improve on it. So that's more important for me. So the same goes here. We can change our content again, or it's all still working there. And if we say save, for example, we go to response time, save, and so we are back live. And same here. So one by one it all works. And then we have this status toggle, so we can also put it back and forth in a status. So I gave every model a status. I don't know if we use it everywhere yet, but especially for checks, you want to be able to turn it on and off. And it should also be here. I think in the list view, you should also be able to delete or edit it, but that's also for later. So yeah, that's it for me for today. A little update. I'm happy I worked past days a bit. I didn't fully party and relax. It feels better for me. I got some stuff done, and I also think the deadline. I have this list, and this is the last week of the year. It was all green, which feels good. And now I'm all ready for the whole week. That everything I planned is now getting more and more green. So I think tomorrow I'm already halfway through. So that feels good. And probably I can get some week 2 stuff here, or I get some figure out stuff here. So let's see. But we're getting there. So yeah, very cool. I'm happy at least. And hopefully see you in the next video. If you have any feedback or want to know anything about, for example, the code I built, let me know. I'm happy to show that. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe or like if you appreciate this video. And see you in the next one. Bye.